What's up, guys? Dramatello here, and today we'll talk about Elden Ring. And something that I noticed that is kind of weird that nobody actually speaks about it, not from the videos that I've seen anyways, and I kind of thought that I should make a video about that. So yeah, I want to talk about Wretch and why I think that it is probably the worst class, not only to start with, but generally like just playing with it. You see, it really comes down to simple math, okay? And to get you to understand what I'm talking about, I'm going to show you a specific example, which in my opinion should be enough for you to understand why Wretch is not the best class. Now, I must admit, when I first heard about the game and I started reading about the classes and all those things, I got the understanding that Wretch is basically like the most balanced class, which is true. And it starts with 10 attributes points per category. So for every category, vitality, endurance, strength, dexterity, whatever, you get 10 for each of those. Now, my logic was that, okay, so other classes start with a certain level. So there's a class in level 8 or a class you start with level 10 or whatever. And I thought, okay, so basically what they did was giving you like a starting equipment so that it'll be just a bit easier. And generally speaking, it's like a Wretch, okay, like the class Wretch. And basically they added some specs on like whatever they thought was suitable for that specific class. And then you have these classes. However, this is not the case. It's just not true. And what got me to understand that it's not true was the fact that all of a sudden I've seen some classes that have less than 10 attributes points per category. So I thought for a second, okay, hold on a second. Do all the classes even have the same amount of attribute points in each level they reach? And so what I did was basic math. I basically just added up all the numbers, specifically for level 20, for whatever reason. I believe that it's going to be just the same, obviously, for level 30, 40, 50, whatever. But just for the sake of the example, level 20. And look at the stat points, okay? When you add them up for each class, they all have 99 attribute points. So essentially, we understand now that all the classes get the same amount of attribute points for whatever level they are, right? Now, the most obvious thing to understand here is the fact that if there are classes that have less than 10 attribute points for a specific category, let it be strength, let it be dexterity, whatever, obviously that means that those attribute points went to somewhere else. And this brings me to the only thing that Wretch is actually good for is if you are the type of player that would rather try out different weapons all the time. So this is like if you're completely indecisive, you want to have just one character, you don't want to start a bunch of characters, and what you want is to basically switch up a ton of weapons. This is the only reason why Wretch is okay. But if you know your play style, for example, me, let it be for MMORPG games that I've played or just generally RPG games that I play, I am always dual-wielding swords. This is just who I am. This is my play style. This is what I like, right? So essentially, in this game specifically, I'm a dexterity build, all right? I'm a dexterity build because this is how the game is structured, and it makes sense in a lot of other games. It's also dexterity, and also dexterity is also for bows and stuff like that. So for me, this is great because I would always use dual-wielding swords, and then I will have like a bow or something just for the ranged option, okay? So now that I know my play style, I already know that like something like arcane means nothing for me, okay? Arcane is more for, I don't know, like incantations or magic or whatever. Don't catch me on the exact phrase, but I'm just really not into like magic stuff, okay? This is just my play style. Maybe you guys have something else, but I just never got into that. But I got into that enough to understand that arcane means nothing for a dexterity build. So obviously, Wretch is going to have these extra attributes points in arcane or in the other categories that are not relevant for my build, which is a loss for me. Because again, the number of attribute points are the same. They are distributed along of all the categories, right? So if you have a class that essentially has less than 10, for example, in arcane, so let's say the class has like a 7 on arcane, for me, this is the best option. This is better than having the Wretch, right? Because Wretch will essentially has like 2 or 3 points attributed to something that means nothing for me, okay? It adds up nothing to my class. And this brings me to the simple conclusion. The conclusion is that Wretch is only good, first of all, if you just want to like have the hype of like every single thing that you find along the way, like equipment and stuff like that, to have more incentive to use those and be like, oh my God, this is a new sword. Let me try this out. Oh, what a great axe. Let me try this one. And if that's like your thing and every week you change your mind, then Wretch is probably for you. But if you already know at least more or less the play style that you're going to be playing, okay, there's a certain play style that you like, a build that you're going after, then here's what you need to do. Instead of looking at the attribute points that are attached to the categories that interests you, for example, if I am into dexterity build and strength build, I'm not looking at the class for extra strength or extra dexterity. This goes backwards. You need to look at the attribute points that are not relevant to your class and to pick the class that has the lesser amount attributed to them. Okay? So, for example, I realized that the Vagabond is actually the best class even for a dexterity build. Why, you are asking, right? So, the calculation was like this. I have listed the categories, okay? Dexterity, strength, endurance, and vigor, right? These 4 are the only categories that interest me for my build, okay? Obviously, dexterity would be the number 1. Then afterwards, strength, endurance, and vigor, okay? Because all of those, they're good to have points in them, okay? Here are the 4 categories that are not interesting for me at all, which is mind, intelligence, faith, and arcane. Now, if you are the type of player who likes magic, who appreciates incantations and stuff like that, you should probably do the opposite than me. But I'm just telling you like how I got to the conclusion that Vagabond is the best class for me. Now, everywhere you go, like on forums, Reddit, or whatever, everybody are going to say either pick the samurai, or pick the wretch, or pick the warrior, right? And I'm here to say something else. Because if you look at warrior, for example, okay, you will see that generally it has 2 points that are wasted out of the 4 that I just said: mind, intelligence, faith, and arcane. I need to pick the class that has the lesser amount of points attributed to these categories: mind, intelligence, faith, and arcane. So the calculation will be from 10. So for each category from the number 10, I need to see plus or minus how much is added for what I need. So for the sake of calculation, let's look at the warrior, for example. Okay, we look at the warrior, we can see that it has on vigor extra 1 from 10. Remember, it always starts from 10 because we're trying to understand the importance of Wretch for my build and what is the actual best class for my build. So it has 11 for vigor, so it has an extra 1. For mind, it added extra 2. For endurance, an extra 1. Dexterity, extra 6. And for faith, they lowered it with 2 points, and arcane 1 point. So in general, what this means is that the warrior has, all in all, 2 points that are attributed to categories that I don't need for my build, and an extra 3 points that are added to stuff that is important. Okay? Now, if we look at the samurai you can see for yourself, it has basically only 1 point that is attributed to something that means nothing, which in this case is mind, okay? And then if you look at intelligence, faith, and arcane, the intelligence has 1 point that is lower than 10. Faith has 2 points that are lower than 10, and arcane has 2 points that are lower than 10. So essentially, the samurai has 1 point that I don't need and 5 points added to stuff that I need. Now, we look at the vagabond. So the vagabond has all the points attributed to all categories that I need eventually, okay, which is vigor, endurance, strength, and dexterity, right? And if you look at mind is on 10, intelligence is on 9, faith 9, and arcane 7. So if you calculate all of that, you will understand that there is 0 points that are added to categories that I don't need, and it has extra 5 points added to categories that I probably would have added anyways along as I play Elden Ring. So looking at all the calculations, you will see that the Vagabond is the only class that has all points on stuff that I need and has 0, literally 0 points that are added to all the other stuff that I don't need, like the intelligence, the faith, and arcane. So this is why, even though I need dexterity build, and even though maybe the warrior or the samurai gets an extra dexterity or whatever, at the end of the day, knowing that all of them have all the same amount of attribute points per level, this means only one thing, that the Vagabond is the best class. That is the best class for my personal playstyle. And back to the point of the Wretch, as you can see, Wretch is not a good class if you know at least somewhat what is going to be your playstyle. This is it, guys. Hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe to this channel so that I'll know that you actually watch these videos and you like them and maybe you want some more videos. Thank you, and I will see you in the next video. Peace out.